Our campaign is all about freedom, prosperity, and peace.
Come on, people, gather around him. He's got a message, a hope for us all. Young and old folks are standing together, calling for freedom, calling for Ron Paul. Citizens all join each other now. Let's spread the message of freedom. We make a call, shout it out now. We want the message of freedom. The golden age, truth is upon us. We're speaking out, no weapons too small. Ready to fight for our rights and freedom. We're on the same side of Ron Paul. Citizens all join each other now. Let's spread the message of freedom. We make a call, shout it out now. We want the message of freedom.
I am an advocate, a very strong advocate of following very strictly the rule of law, the Constitution of the United States.
You're listening to the Freedom Message with Stephen Vincent, live on bbsradio.com. Thank you for listening into the show. A historic time in America for the Ron Paul Revolution. Very special day today. The number to call into the show, 877
Join us in this great campaign for
270.
freedom and liberty. Thank you very much.
8714-877-270-8714. So where are we? Where are we today? Are we in a different world? Are we in a different country today? I think in some ways we are. This weekend, we closed out the quarter raising $1.2 million in 6 days. $1.2 million in 6 days. Quite an accomplishment. Quite an accomplishment from a movement and a candidacy which apparently, if you listen to the establishment media, has no support. So we effectively spammed $1.2 million into the coffers of the Ron Paul campaign in 6 days. Something is happening. Something is happening. And in fact, our candidate, Mr. Dr. Ron Paul, in fact, said so much on Saturday at his rally in New Hampshire before his walk across New Hampshire for the campaign. And we're going to be listening to that audio. So a very historic day. Lots of things happening on many different levels that are making this a very interesting time to be alive and a very interesting time to be an American. Almost as interesting as the very birth of the nation. And perhaps we are witnessing right now the rebirth of the nation. In fact, let's go ahead and read this from the MSNBC website. So one of the things I think that we will be looking for as a result of the massive fundraising effort on the part of the Ron Paul Revolution in these last 6 days and our soon-to-be announced end of the quarter number, which I think we can anticipate will be surprising to many who have been discounting the power of the Ron Paul Revolution. We have an article from MSNBC's website, and I think we can expect many more of these. And if we don't get them, they can expect to be hearing from us, from the Ron Paul Revolution. We need to demand the recognition that we deserve. We need to demand that recognition if it is not given in due course. So the first little sliver, anyway, of recognition, MSNBC today, not on air apparently, but at least an article, says the Paul Revolution rally draws 800. I'm sure there were more than 1,000 people in New Hampshire. I'm going to read this. This is actually the first time I've read it. Just came out. Even a half hour after Ron Paul's Revolution rally ended in downtown Manchester, there was a crowd larger than any other candidate could only hope to draw. The campaign estimated that as many as 800 people showed up as the Texas congressman kicked off a canvassing effort in New Hampshire's 3 largest cities. The campaign gave out buttons asking, "Who is Ron Paul?" But who are Ron Paul's supporters? I think they're new to the process, says Paul's son, Rand Paul. We definitely have Democrats that are crossing over, libertarians crossing over, independents crossing over, and I think the people that come out are definitely gonna vote. Rand Paul said that every day he's surprised at how big his father's campaign has gotten. Now they have "how big" in quotes, as if to diminish it, of course. Last week, they asked supporters to raise $500,000. They passed that in 3 days, and now we're asking them to raise $1 million, Rand Paul said. By Sunday, they had done just that. And Rand Paul said his father might end the third fundraising quarter with more cash on hand than most of the other Republicans. We may have more money on hand than Romney if you subtract what he's given himself, he said. Paul rejected a comparison to Howard Dean's internet-fueled 2004 campaign, which fizzled by the time votes were actually cast. My dad has been going around the country for 30 years and has a following, Paul said. It's definitely a committed core. Howard Dean didn't have that cohesive message and a philosophy. What Dean and Paul have in common is their anti-war message. And Paul said his father's stance makes him the Republican with the best chance of getting independent votes over. End of story. Not a bad story. Nothing to really complain about. So at least a little bit of a crack in the facade of the mainstream media blockade. Let's see what happens from here. I'm serious, folks. If we don't get some major coverage and major recognition after this fundraising drive and after the end of quarter number comes out, which I'm sure we can be very confident is going to be exceptional, then we really do need to recognize that something is happening. The recognition that we deserve. We are a force in the political process in the United States of America now. The Ron Paul Revolution is here, and we are real. So if we do not get the respect that we deserve, then we should demand it and use whatever means that are appropriate and necessary. Letter writing, phone calling, emailing, protesting in front of major media outlets, whatever it takes. I think it's appropriate in New York, in Los Angeles, and anywhere where there are major media outlets. I don't think it's out of the question to be in front of those outlets with large placards and banners that say $1.2 million in 6 days, Ron Paul Revolution, or whatever the end of the quarter number, $5 million with $10 million in the bank, or whatever it is that we've got. Put it in the front of their faces and make them report on it. I think that this is absolutely, we have to capitalize on this momentum. We have to capitalize on the opportunity that's being presented by the hard work that has been done. We cannot just let it pass by the boards without capitalizing on it. This revolution really is in full swing. It is in full process right now. So we need to keep the ball rolling. Let's go ahead and listen to some of what Dr. Paul had to say in New Hampshire this weekend. I think this is one of his best speeches, and you're going to feel and hear the excitement in the doctor's voice and in his choice of words and in the, I think, new territory that he starts to breach in this speech. So let's go ahead and listen to that.